Hi, this is Bobby Kimbrough. Welcome to Off the Cuffs. Again, we're excited. We have a guest with us, Matthew Rybar. Yeah, from UVT, also known as Drone Sense. Man, welcome to Off the Cuffs. Glad to have you. You're from Michigan, right?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us, what is UVT and Drone Sense?
So UVT and Drone Sense, we help first responders start drone programs and really meet them any way they're at with their program. So we are a turnkey UAS provider, a drone provider. So if an agency is just starting a drone program, we'll help them through that entire process. Or if they're up and running and need some assistance with expanding their programs, we'll help them and really meet them at any place that they're at.
Wow, that's good stuff. So tell me something. I know you travel a lot with the company UVT, helping law enforcement agencies start their programs, being the turnkey for them. So tell me, what do you think about drones? I know that you work in that field, but you and I were talking before the camera started. When you first started, you didn't know much about them. I assume that has changed since you've been in the industry for quite some time.
Definitely. I think they're a value-added resource to all of public safety. There's just so many different benefits to them, but de-escalation is such a huge component to that benefit.
So, people always talk about de-escalation. A lot of folk that listen, well, give me an example of de-escalation. So what do you mean when you say that? How does a drone help de-escalate a situation?
So the more information that we can give to an officer before they arrive on scene is always going to help that process of de-escalation. You're right. The word de-escalation can be taken so many different ways.
Right.
But so I'm also currently active in law enforcement, and that being able to integrate that technology with our day-to-day operations and be able to have more information when arriving on a call is always a value add, because it helps you make a more educated decision when you get to that call if you have more information, more background leading up to that point.
Yeah, I notice the more I read and research, I know that a lot more agencies are going to drones as first responders. And I see that I think it's about 11 in the country now that have drones as a first responder. Yours truly, Forsyth County, being one of those 11. So when you go and try to explain to the general public, to try to get them to understand the benefit of the drones and what they do, what are some of the questions that pop up as people want to know, well, why do we need them, or what are they for? How do you articulate that to them?
Well, the first thing is just, what do we do with that information? We can collect that information, but how does it provide that value? And so instances where we can get a drone on scene, even before a first responder can arrive, provides that value and really leads into that point of giving them that actionable intel before. And a lot of people say, okay, so what types of calls can we use a drone for? A missing person is a great example of a call where it's going to take a little bit for an officer to arrive on a scene, regardless of how big the city is. But if, say, an elderly person walked away from a facility, and we can get that drone there to start looking for that person while officers are already en route, we can provide more information sooner to those officers before they get there, potentially even being able to find them. And programs like yourself at Forsyth are awesome over time as you've evolved your drone program. You've had them for a number of years, and you're just stepping into drones as a first responder with a whole new set of missions, but you're able to integrate all of that technology you already have based off of some of the software choices you've chosen, because that platform allows you to bring in a drone that somebody might throw up on the roadside, one of your officers, with those drones that you're launching from a rooftop.
Right. So many people think drones are new. I can remember back in the early 2000s when people were using them, and we were experimenting with drones then in the early 2000s. And here we are in 2022, and we're using them as first responders. During the conversation, a question was asked, what are some of the capabilities of a drone? Someone said, well, can you talk through the drone? There's so many things about a drone that can be utilized for delivery systems. What are just a few of them?
So like you're saying, you can talk through the drone, so to communicate with somebody, whether that's a de-escalation situation or a lost hiker, and that you need to have that communication once you've located them. Fire support. So when a fire is dispatched out, if it's intended to be, or it could be a structure fire, everyone in every fire department in the local area will go to that, respond to that fire. But getting a drone on scene can provide that intel sooner to say, hey, there's actually no smoke showing right now. We're going to start to scale back our response. A traffic crash is also another great example where if it's unknown about injuries or unknown about the scale of that, getting a drone on scene sooner can provide that intel to know how you're going to gauge that response. So it can really help you plan that and respond in a better, more efficient way.
That's so true. We had the Weevil fire here where we utilized drones to basically see the intensity of what was going on. And, the fire chief made a great decision not to send any manpower in there because the fire was so explosive, and to try to push back to get a better understanding before we risk lives sending them in there. So the drone serves a very valued asset, just one another tool in the toolbox. We had a situation here that I thought was very interesting, and I shared it earlier, is that we had a situation where domestic disturbance, where a young lady was at work. She came out. There was a situation where ex-boyfriend, they had some type of altercation, and she was afraid of them. We were able to get the drone up in the air, and probably from time it launched to on site, minute 30 seconds, to where we had eyes on, able to capture the tag, give real-time intelligence back to the car that was responding to better equip them, as we talked about de-escalation, to make the community more safer. And as a result, the gentleman had outstanding paperwork on him, outstanding warrants, and things of that nature. So, we're in a time now where drones are being used in so many systems. I know that UPS is using them. A lot of other places are using them for public health, public safety, and so many things. What do you think the future of the drones are? If I were to go into talking about the capability of drones, I've seen some drones with some amazing capabilities, from flying into situations to record inside of a house. There are all types of uses for the drones, unmanned aircrafts.
So there's a lot of regulations that still have a lot of progress to be made to really fully utilize some of the benefits of drone technology.
Yeah.
But agencies like yourself that are showing the FAA over time that you can conduct safe drone operations to augment your current operations and really to walk the FAA through, this is how we operate safely. Those are the things that build up this industry and help move things forward. And the first responder community is the number one place that helps that innovation grow. Package delivery and everything else is a very hot topic, and it has a lot of really promising optimism on the horizon, which is exciting. But I fully expect that some of these drone operations that have a lot of human involvement right now will become autonomous at some point. We'll have a little bit less involvement by pilots and less involvement by people as we work on different ways to develop safety of the national airspace. And because at the end of the day, you guys have taken a route that is focused on safety, and manned aviation is the number one priority.
Right.
You guys have set a lot of protocols up in place to make sure that you've selected the right policy and procedure. You've selected the right hardware and software that's going to keep both air traffic, manned aviation safe, but also the safety of your civilians on the ground. And a platform, different ways you can look at the platform, but you have to have that holistic approach to the program, which you guys have taken, which is going to only help the FAA moving forward to allow you to do more things and expand.
That's so true. I know as we went through the process, going through the FAA process, getting the paperwork, getting the requirements, meeting them, matching them. And, every day when I see another launch, another operation, I realize that we're moving into uncharted waters to where actually there's so many things that are evolving that legislation as well as regulations are actually being formed in the process in real time as we're going through this. And it's very interesting times. I know I look back over the years how we've utilized drones in terms of the military, how we've utilized drones in terms of a lot of other areas. But I'm so excited about how we're utilizing them in public safety now to locate those that have wandered off, those that may be lost, how we're utilizing them to de-escalations, to avoid chase, a lot of chases that may occur from just being able to capture that information. So what are some of the capabilities, the camera capabilities on some of the drones that are out there now? We've heard stories of, we have one that has, I think it's a mile zoom, 2 mile zoom, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there's a ton of different camera capabilities. Everything from the zoom cameras you're talking about that can read a license plate, pick it up at a great distance, to thermal capabilities that can help with the right environment, help pick people out of the woods or pick someone that's lost. So those are the main camera capabilities I think the sheriff's office here finds a lot of benefit from your day-to-day operations is having that ability to keep the drone back a ways, but then be able to zoom into those those areas of interest. Also, to be able to really pinpoint where those things are happening at. Traffic crash is a great example where if you get a 911 call that comes in, they might not exactly know where they're at.
Exactly.
Phase 2 could put them at, who knows, within a half a mile. But with that drone technology, to be able to actually locate them, put the zoom camera on it, and then the camera itself will tell you the exact GPS coordinates of that crash.
Right.
It helps you get people to them quicker in a more efficient way.
And think about it. How many times you've been driving and you turned off on the road and like, what road is this I'm on? You may have a senior's moment. You may have a moment where, you know what road is this? And if something happened and you dial 911, you say, well, I turned off of whatever road X, and now I'm on road Y. All I can tell you is that I turned off of road X. I don't recall the road that I'm on. I just hit a deer or something of that nature, and I need help. Well, on traditional resources, I'm trying to dispatch cars looking for you all over that particular area. But to be able to put a drone up in there and know exactly where you are, and if there was life-saving measures that was going to be needed, the sooner I find you, the sooner or the better chance you have of surviving that. So I see so many uses for the drones, the infrared that we use at night. Sometimes we've used them at night. How do people, or how do those that operate the drone store the information? That's been a question. How do you store the information where if I want to come back and review this information, or if there's a question about what the drone saw or how it was used?
Absolutely. So the drones themselves are just like manned aircraft, where there's a black box recorder on the aircraft that records all of those important things. From a hardware and software perspective, it really maintains those records so you can troubleshoot at a later date. But from a transparency and building public trust perspective, the aircraft itself has that flight record, which shows the location of the aircraft, the time the aircraft was at that location, what the camera was looking at, the direction, the location on the ground. Then the data that it captures can then be offloaded from that drone and put into your evidence management system, following all of your normal protocols to be able to develop that transparency and show the public, hey, this is exactly what we were using that drone for. And the platform Drone Sense is really what's enabled you to do that whole process of capturing all of those flight logs and that data and what you're looking at. So all of those different features really help build that robust software side to say, to give you as the sheriff the confidence that you're doing everything you can to do things the right way and make sure that you're walking that correct line.
Yeah, so at UVT, you guys actually sell the drones as well?
We do. So we sell the drones. We rep for a number of different aircraft manufacturers. We sell software, and our value add is really we help public safety start drone programs. It's our niche. It's what our passions are. Like I said, I'm still active in law enforcement, and being able to bring these programs together, everything from zero to the technology to the software to the training, pilot training is just so huge a part of a lot of these processes. And being able to do that all together is the value that we think we can provide to the different agencies.
A lot of people know you have to be a licensed drone pilot to fly those. You can't just wake up tomorrow morning and say, hey, I'm going to just fly this drone all over the county. You got to be licensed to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I hear you working on your pilot's license
True.
or have gotten there.
True.
And so before 2016, you actually had to be a manned aircraft pilot to fly a drone in public safety.
Wow.
And you look at how things have come over time. Agencies like the county here have paved that way. So in 2016, they rolled out the drone pilot's license. But like you say, you still have to study and prepare for that test and go take the federally backed test through the FAA to get that drone pilot's license. So just in 5 or 6 years, the industry has come a long way. It's going to be cool to see where it goes.
Oh, it's going. We were having that conversation. People were saying, well, how popular is drones in law enforcement? Well, once there was one, now there is 11, and every day the number keeps growing and growing and growing. And there will be a time where now it won't be 11 in the United States. It'll be upwards of 1,000 or several hundred. And every day another law enforcement agency is stepping into the utilization of drones. So let me ask you this. So let's say somebody's watching this and they want to develop their own drone program, a law enforcement agency, and they want to go from, as you say, zero to the final product to actually flying missions with the drone, how would they reach out to you? How would they reach out to you guys?
You can always reach out to us online, UVT, Unmanned Vehicle Technologies.
UVT?
UVT, you got it. UVT.us is our website. But
UVT.us.
Always can reach out to us that way. But like you're saying, it's so exciting to see where that's coming, or where that's coming, where it's going. But that crawl, walk, run approach, I think, is very important with these law enforcement drone programs. You guys started a number of years ago deploying drones out of your vehicles on a routine basis and building your pilots' knowledge, building their skill sets and their capabilities over time, which has really enabled you to launch your drones as a first responder here in 2022. And that wasn't a program that just got developed overnight. You've been working from the start. And so to figure out what that hybrid approach of things look like together, I think is just really, really important. I say all the time, pick a partner, not a product. And that's really the way I believe a lot of these programs have to move forward, is pick people that you trust to surround yourself with to help you move the program along, bring the knowledge in from the outside, and then use your inside resources too. But at the end of the day, it's a team-based effort that's going to move your program in that direction.
Yeah, I like that. You know, as you were talking just now, right, my mind started racing again. You know, I have trouble with just racing, you know, all the time, thinking of what's the next move. And I was thinking about ways that we are going to utilize our drone systems in addition to how we utilize them now, right? Just imagine, let's say you have drones and I want to make and check the exterior of a detention center, right? Seven-story building. I wanted to check the exterior of the building to make sure no windows are broken out on all four sides of the building. I could literally fly that building, capture it, record it, study, make sure that all the windows are intact, all of that. I could do all of those things, right, to where I know firsthand what's going on. The future of drones is just unbelievable. It's just as far as we can take it mentally and believe.
Absolutely. And the staffing crisis that all law enforcement across the country experience right now, a perimeter check like you're explaining right now of a facility is something that you're having a deputy do every hour to do those confirmations. And if you can help kind of bridge that gap of staffing using technology, it's a huge benefit in cost savings, but also just a huge benefit because you can't find bodies to fill those roles right now.
You can't.
And it's a tough struggle that all departments are facing.
You know, that's interesting. You say that. I was having a conversation. You said staffing shortage across America in law enforcement. And I was having a conversation with a reporter yesterday and then again with one of the sheriffs up in Asheville. He and I were talking, and I was sharing with him that what the capability of a drone. So now let's say I got a missing person and I got a whole squad of people listening, looking for that person that may be suffering from some type of dementia or Alzheimer's. And now I have the ability of infrared. I have the ability of heat seeking. I have the ability thermal heating imagery. I have the ability of so many things out there now at my disposal to help save a life. And we've used it in a couple of incidents. And, you know, when people realize that, you know, it may seem expensive, but what do you put on the price of a life? You know, what's the price tag on a life?
Yeah, that's huge, and those priorities of life of protecting the innocent, protecting your responders, and walking through that process is so important.
Yeah,
I think to just add on to that, the Weaver fire is such a great example for so many reasons. Imagine if you would have had a drones as a first responder program up and running in that area before that fire, where the drone could have been first on scene to say, hey, this fire is very close to some chemicals, and I'm not a firefighter, so I don't know the experts there, but say, hey, this fire is very close to some very potent chemicals that might explode. We need to back our officers off. We need to back our fire personnel off and start making that strategy. Well, then the next step was when officers got to the scene, they started deploying drones from the air, and they had a continuous operation for almost 72 hours of drones continually viewing. But that drones as a first responder program could give you that first intel, while then you're going to start passing more video up to your command staff after that. So to be able to have a system that can bring all of that information together, that's why Drone Sense is so valuable to you guys in those situations, is because you're bringing all of that data into one location where you as the sheriff, even if you're at home or at the office or wherever you're responding from, you can get that intel just so much sooner using that information.
That's so true. You know, when you say that about fire, Early in my career, I was an arson investigator for the city of Winston, and I was thinking about my time at Emmitsburg, Maryland National Fire Academy, where they sent me to train at. And you know, when you're investigating a fire, the objective is what was the cause and the origin, right? What was the cause and the origin? So just imagine a fire call comes in 911, right? And so by the time I get there on the fire truck, I'm calling a 10 Baker, meaning it's fully engulfed. But imagine if I have the ability, someone say, hey, my house on fire, there's a fire here, and I can get a drone there in under a minute and 30 seconds. I see where the fire is burning at the time that the drone gets there, as opposed to the time that the fire truck gets there, because there's a great time lapse between the drone getting there and the first responder. Thus, I know what I saw when the drone got there, which would help me better understand where the fire originated. Also would help me better navigate to the first responders, whether it's a fire call, whatever it may be, to what they're going into, because knowing what they're going into helps them prepare what they need tactically to go into that situation. I think the future is bright. I'm glad you were here, man, to stop and talk about that. Here's what I like to do before we take it home is that, again, make sure you leave that website as to how UVT.com.
US. Yep.
US.us, UVT.us, because I suspect you're going to be getting a lot of calls, a lot of email. I know you're going to be getting one from Buncombe County, Sheriff Miller. He's been blowing my phone up, talking about wanting the exact same program. So I'm excited, man, that you're here. I look forward to talking with you. I'm glad you partnered with us to get this thing going for us, as you did to make us number 11 in the whole United States of America and number 1 in North Carolina to have the first drones as a responder. I appreciate you, and I want to give you the last word before we take it home.
Thanks, Sheriff. I just really appreciate your time and having us out and letting us be a part of this whole process with you. Use us as a resource, use us as a partner. That's what we do best.
Yeah.
I'm not full-time anymore in law enforcement, so every time I get to deal with each of these agencies gives me that continue to help people succeed and help you succeed. So thank you so much for that.
I like that, man. I like the little tagline you hit about don't choose a product, choose a partner. It's partnerships that makes us strong. The collaborations, the cooperations, and all those things that go into partnerships. I have a sign in the office, one guy or one man is an individual, but together we are a movement that is undeniable. I want to thank you for being here today. I look forward to this continued partnership. As always, I enjoy sharing our thoughts. I enjoy sharing new innovations, new technology, advancement as it relates to law enforcement. Again, I want to thank Mr. Rybar for being here. And more importantly, I want to thank you for being a part of Off the Cuffs with Bobby Kimbrough. I love you all and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.